Welcome back. Now, newly appointed Business Leadership South Africa's CEO, Busisiwe Mavuso, is already hard at work. She's calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa to make an unpopular decision for the good of the country. And let's find out about some of those choices. Now, she joins us now. Thank you so much, Busisiwe, for joining us.
Thank you.
I suppose I have to say congratulations as well. This is quite
you.
a historic moment for women in South Africa, and we really do congratulate you.
It certainly is. Thank you.
But you also talk about tough decisions, which the president, has to make, especially given the economy at the moment. What are those decisions?
So I think mainly from a policy perspective, right? Because I think we've embarked on this drive to say that we need to bring foreign direct investment into the country, because we realize and appreciate that what it's going to take to shift our economic trajectory, we can't do it by ourselves as a country. We need that injection from foreign as well. If that is what we want to achieve, then we have to understand that we have to actually exhibit a particular posture. A country that is trying to set itself up as an investment destination needs to exhibit certain, characteristics, So from a policy perspective in the main, the lack of clarity and lack of certainty is absolutely a problem, because markets are premised on certainty, and the lack thereof for markets is problematic. So we have certain contentious policy issues, for instance, the independence of the Reserve Bank, and the changing of its mandate. We're hoping that after the SONA address that President Cyril Ramaphosa gave, that issue, I think, is actually buried, we hope, The fact that we are amending Section 25 of the Constitution in as far as the expropriation without compensation is concerned, we need to know what that means, because just knowing that we're amending it, is actually not enough. We have had the ANC mooting the issue of prescribed assets. Is that going to be the case? We know we've got this long outstanding visa regulation issue, that has had a direct impact into our tourism industry and therefore our GDP. That is a problem. We have outstanding issues in as far as the mining charter is concerned. So if you're expecting these foreign direct investors and local investors, by the way, to make these investment decisions, that is going to be premised on certainty. So the lack thereof is problematic. Eskom is another one, right? We have already said that we want to unbundle Eskom, and you had the Labour coming in very quickly saying that if you do that, it's going to be a declaration of war. Well, are we unbundling Eskom? Are we not? Is this ANC-led government willing to take that tough decision irrespective of what their constituency, which is COSATU and Labour, are saying? So I think that is the clarity, that is the, moving from being complacent and from, wanting to please everyone. Because I think we're going to have to understand, if you want to make a difference, you can't please everyone. And if you are pleasing everyone, then unfortunately you are not going to make enough progress.
And also just bringing some of the challenges back home, and more relatable is the fact that we have a reality of retrenchments. Right now facing South Africa, we have a reality of unemployment facing South Africans. How does the BLSA aim to, deal with some of these challenges?
So you would know that our economy is characterized by low growth, right? We haven't achieved growth levels touching 2%, since 2013. That is a problem, right? So you have to therefore say, how do we ensure that we stimulate this depressed economy in this low growth environment? Because businesses do what they are supposed to do, and they can keep jobs and they continue producing and so forth if there's actually demand for their products, So where you're sitting in a country where there is 38% unemployment in terms of the expanded definition, with more people unemployed than those that are employed in all the provinces except the Gauteng and the Western Cape, you can see how that doesn't augur well for business. Because if there's 38% unemployment, which is apparently about 11 million people, then who's coming into your shops to buy, your goods and services? And how do you ensure that demand is high? Because you need to have the demand that is high, because you and I are going into shops buying, because of the high demand, then you can produce more. And because you're producing more, then you need to employ more people. And if you're employing more people, then there is more income, or whatever the case is. But then because of this low growth environment, and whatever characterizes South Africa at the moment is actually problematic. You're sitting with the highest inequality in the country. We've just overtaken Brazil as the most unequal society in the world. That is a problem. You're sitting with two economies, one nation. You had Alexander about 3 weeks back crossing the M1 bridge into Sandton, and they are saying enough and no more. We can't continue, accepting that the transformation dividends 25 years into democracy are not flowing to us as the majority of the citizens of this country. You're sitting with 55% youth unemployment. You're sitting with poverty levels of over 50%. That is a problem. And you therefore have to say, in that climate, how is business supposed to operate and how are we supposed to do what we need to do?
Well, of course, government has also admitted that they've taken also quite a knock when it comes to tax compliance in South Africa. And we've just concluded the Nugent Commission as well, which is trying to deal with the declining, tax morality as well as the, tax compliance I've mentioned, just to ensure more efficient tax, collection. How, I suppose, my question to you, CEO, is can restoring tax help our economy?
It absolutely can, because remember, because of the lost decade that we've experienced in the country, we know that a big part of that was actually making sure that SARS is dysfunctional. And a very important business unit which was taking care of precisely this was actually closed down, because this ANC-led government had an agenda, which had to ensure, that the tax collection is not what it is. They went and removed the inspectors, out of, for instance, some of the factories that are actually manufacturing cigarettes, and that's where you saw the rise of illicit trade, and it's not just cigarettes, it's illicit trade in general. So as a legitimate business, therefore, how do you compete with? And I don't know, when it comes to illicit trade, do you even know who you're competing with, right? Because the cost of you doing business, is therefore high. And those that are operating in an illicit market can actually be able to offer, if a packet of cigarettes, for instance, is 10 rands and you are doing business in the right way and offering it at 30 rands, how are you supposed to compete with this? And when the taxes on cigarettes and a box of cigarettes is actually 17 rand 80, how is he selling it at 10 rands? You're actually competing in an environment that is actually impossible. And you therefore end up taking a decision as business that is it actually beneficial for me to continue setting up operations and manufacturing in this country? Or should I actually be importing, these products, or go and set up operations in Kenya and stuff like that? So I think Edward Kisweta is doing a brilliant job at SARS. We have all the confidence in him as BLSA to say that he's on the right trajectory of ensuring that he restores that, institution to its former glory, as it were. And I think as soon as you start seeing that, then you're going to see more tax revenue collection that is actually going to come through. And therefore, our fiscal spending and our fiscal agenda is therefore going to be what it needs to be. It's actually a problem, and it's concerning because we just saw reports, I think about late last week, where they're saying that the tax revenue collection targets, are actually below what we envisaged, right? Which therefore raises a budget deficit. And what does that mean for South Africa? It means we have to actually go out there and borrow for us to ensure that we actually implement our fiscal spending. Now, you can't run an economy on borrowing. Like you and I can't run our households, on loans and on borrowed money, on credit cards, whatever the case is. So we're sitting in this very untenable situation, and something drastic from a decisions and courageous leadership perspective is going to have to be done to turn things around.
Well, thank you so much, Busisiwe, for joining us.